Yeah, so the journey began. Here I am in our home, and the whole journey of separation, being alone with myself, probably for the first time in a long time, and facing all kinds of, I don't want to call them inner demons. People get kind of weird about the word demon, but I mean like inner shadow, and started to spiral down and look at myself. And I was writing poetry the whole time. I wrote poetry. Well, my book is all about my journey, right? The day I bought a teddy bear and a vibrator, Unapologetically Me. Just please know that 10 years ago, I would have never written a book like this. I was so like conservative, repressed, Catholic, and all those things. And here I am writing a book of that kind. But really noticing the dark shadows I hadn't faced before, and had numbed out with overeating or overworking or over everything. Like I'm kind of over with the overs, right? Now I'm like really being with these difficult emotions. So the poetry really helped me process a lot of things. Yeah, that's kind of the beginning of my story.
Magdalena Giovanna Rosa is an amazing woman, and she's wise. That wisdom is hard earned. It comes from the courage to look within, to question our inner dialogue, our societal mores, and to test our comfort zone. What a fabulous conversation. Come join us. Magdalena, welcome to Bump in the Road. If you would, tell us your story.
Oh, wow. Where do I begin? First of all, thank you, Pat, for having me. What a thrill. I've been listening to your other podcast and I'm like, wow. So, yeah, what's my story? Well, first of all, I was born female, Italian, and Catholic. And that's the beginning of a what I call a formula for suffering. Now I'm unlearning a lot of that, and I'm certainly not going to give you the long version. So I'll just fast forward to 4 years ago. I had been married for 17 years to a man that I thought was the love of my life. I got married at the age of 43, 5 months pregnant, excited as hell to be in this place. And so, 17 years married and feeling quite lonely in my marriage and wondering why. Like I thought marriage was together and union. And what I found out later is that I was one of like a 60% of lonely people who happened to be married. Anyway, I started to question a lot of things, and certainly not only 4 years ago. It's been kind of a prior to that. And I did a solo retreat for about 8 days, seeking answers. What do I do with my marriage? It was in a yurt on an island in a tiny home, chopping wood, and just loving that sort of basic lifestyle and clarity. And I ended my retreat one day early because I got my answer to myself. And it was like, to tell my husband that I wanted a separation. So I went back and I told him, but of course that was February, and I don't know what to do after you say those words. We still lived together and took a few months, and then things started to really slide. So in June of that year, our dog died. The summer of that year, someone very close in our family attempted suicide. I was going through a marriage coaching and decided that I would keep my marriage, but then something weird happened, and then I asked him to leave. And that was kind of an unusual response from him. And then I found out that I had a growth on the edge of my brain. So all these things are happening at one go.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. Talk about your life shattering all at one go, you know.
What
And
happened
so
with the tumor on your brain? What happened with that?
it's being monitored. It's been 4 years now. And actually, the first MRI that I had, that's how the teddy bear came in. I was doing a Zoom the morning of my first MRI, and I'm just like freaking out. I've heard not good stories about MRIs. And then my friend who lives in Virginia, she ran off to show me something from the Zoom. And I'm like, oh, where's she going? And she came back with 3 sloth teddy bears. And I went, oh my God, I want one. And so that picked me up that morning. I think I ordered a teddy bear on eBay right away, and I went to my MRI. I think I took two of those. Oh my God, what is it? Relaxers, Ativan. I
I
was
don't
so
know. Yeah.
stoned, so stoned. I was just like, anyway. Um, but yeah, so the journey began. Here I am in our home, and the whole journey of separation, being alone with myself, probably for the first time in a long time, and facing all kinds of, I don't want to call them inner demons. People get kind of weird about the word demon, but I mean like inner shadow.
Yeah.
And started to spiral down and look at myself. And I was writing poetry the whole time. I wrote poetry. Well, my book is all about my journey, right? The day I bought a teddy bear and a vibrator, unapologetically me. Just please know that 10 years ago, I would have never written a book like this. I was so like conservative, repressed, Catholic, and all those things. And here I am writing a book of that kind. But really noticing the dark shadows I hadn't faced before, and had numbed out with overeating or overworking or over everything. Like I'm kind of over with the overs, right? Now I'm like really being with these difficult emotions. So the poetry really helped me process a lot of things. Yeah, that's kind of the beginning of my story. I guess we can start with that.
Could I ask, this is kind of a personal question. If you want to skirt it, feel free. But what are some of the dark shadows that you face? Because I don't think I can tell you after doing 2 years of this podcast, over 2 years of this podcast, 3 years. How long have I been doing this? A while. But um absolutely everybody has these shadow sides that we have to face. And they're not always easy.
No, they're not. I mean, I'm 64 now, so back then 60. Uh, I probably numbed out most of my life, didn't face my inner parts of me that I didn't want to admit that I had. I mean, so yeah, some of the shadow, and I write about it. I mean, this book has everything. I have a friend who said every 16-year-old girl should read this book because it talks about my decisions around a relationship, around a man in particular, my marriage. So yeah, loneliness is one of them. And of course, nobody wants to admit loneliness. And yet it's such an epidemic out there with our phones and social media. The more we want to connect, the less we feel connected. The more we want to connect on
Absolutely.
this device, the less we feel connected to ourselves or others. So I write about loneliness. I write about my depression. I write about my anger. Like I was just so pissed off. I would do these swamping uh, practices that I learned from Mama Gina, who is the author of Pussy, a Reclamation. And it's a pretty outrageous title. I thought mine was outrageous. I think hers is way more outrageous. But her work is brilliant. It's all about self-love, as is my poetry book. It's all about finding our own inner beloved. But swamping is you put on 3 songs, one for anger, one for grief, and one for celebration and sexy. And it's shockingly amazing how we can, as soon as the music switches, I switch the emotion. So swamping is you swamp the anger. And for them, a lot of the time, it was anger at my former husband. And then it transformed anger at myself.
Yeah.
I don't blame him. I didn't objectify it anymore. And then grief for the incredible loss that divorce, separation brings, loss of dreams, loss of the future together, growing old together, loss of what we call a family. I mean, there are parts of me that the last 3 years, want my family back. And I can talk more about that later if you like. So the grief, that was really good for me. I could bawl my eyes out. Sometimes I had to play the song twice just to cry it out. But as soon as the grief was over, you get into your sexy, your celebration, and you can close your eyes and just move very slowly and start to stroke your skin. And I can just drop into that. And so by the end, you've processed these emotions. So I talk about swamping in my book, again, the anger, and also grief. I don't think our culture does a very good job on grief, regardless whether it's a death, a divorce. Please remind me to talk about how divorce is worse than death. I'd like to talk about that more. or whether, our dreams are lost, even if, I mean, I'm a teacher of the deaf and hard of hearing, and then I did research on a certain paper where parents who bring into the world a child who's deaf and not, quote, healthy, normal, and I use that word in quotes,
Yeah.
there's a grieving there in the 5 stages of grief that Kubler-Ross talks about. I mean, grief isn't just for death, it's for loss of dreams and all that. So yeah, what else did I write about in my book around the shadow? Well, you know, I wouldn't say that sex is a shadow, but certainly thinking it as a taboo is a shadow. And I
Mhm.
think our culture needs healthy conversations around our sexuality, especially with the. I did read a book where young boys are preferring to watch porn on 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 the internet versus actually take a girl out on a date. And there's a lot of research on that, which to me is just so sad, right?
Oh, it's so soulless.
Pardon?
It's soulless.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So those are just some of the shadows I talk about. There's a practice that I do called feeding your demons. I'm actually certified to lead it to clients, and it's all about shadow work. And the demon is the shadow work. Again, that is a Tibetan Buddhist practice of an ancient, like 1,000 years ago, and it's brilliant. Such a beautiful practice. And again, the demon is the shadow. That word demon isn't meant to be anything other than just the shadow. So yeah, my poetry book has it all. It is so vulnerable. I'm like, do I really want to publish this? What are you doing? And it's like the answer inside said, it's not about you. It's universal, right?
It is universal, and I think the grief that you bring up is very universal. And you're right, we don't really allow anybody to go through a grieving process, and divorce is so difficult on so many levels that people I think a lot of times people tend to stand back
From the grief, you mean, around a divorce or
from the
anything?
people because it's easier. It's their emotions are so intense, the loss is intense, the disruption. A lot of people just don't want to get involved. They often have to choose one partner or another.
Yeah.
And that's difficult too.
Yeah, yeah, grief. You know, getting out of your comfort zone is where life really begins. I think
Yes.
that our comfort zone makes us sleepy, makes us complacent, and we miss out. I have to say that in the last 3.5 years, 4 years, while it's been incredibly difficult, gut wrenching, on the floor, like the floor became my best friend. I would I would not only cry on the floor, but I did my Nia 5 stages, which is it's floor work, it's body work, where you roll on the floor and then you creep on the floor and then you crawl on the floor. You slowly go from fish, lizard, bear, monkey, human. Like there's actually it's actually structured. It's
Mhm.
so good for the body, and that's floor work. So yeah, the floor. You uh, just yeah. I kind of lost my train of thought, but around the grief, yeah, just the loss, the gut wrenching, the be real with yourself, the courageous journey that it is to thaw out those numb emotions from childhood. I think we've all been traumatized in one way or another, whether
Absolutely.
it's
All families are dysfunctional. So we are all the product of dysfunctional families to some degree.
yeah,
I
whether it's
yeah,
little T or big T, right?
yes, yes. But, when you look back now, do you have any questions about what was real or what wasn't?
Oh
Were you
gosh.
living a fantasy part of the time?
That is such a good question. I'll just say that I didn't follow my intuition when it kept popping up. I kept denying. In fact,
Yeah.
I think I was in denial for most of my marriage, even probably during the honeymoon phase. Um, so yeah, it probably was a fantasy. It probably was this making it better than it was. Mind you, there were very wonderful things a lot of the time, but I didn't ask for my needs to be met. And I'm Italian female Catholic. Of course, I'm going to bend over backwards and people please and do what's, do what you want and forfeit what I want. And so I didn't speak up. I mean, I think if I spoke up, maybe either I wouldn't have married the person I married, or we would have had a very different conscious relationship, much more conscious. So yeah, I think I probably did live in my head and not in my body, right? In my intuition. I mean,
Yeah.
this is really sweet. I've started to drink water. If you label, I don't know if you can see, it says,
Yeah, I see that. It says intuition.
yeah. And so I'm starting to like, this isn't just a glass of water, right? So becoming much more conscious of noticing synchronicities in my life and noticing my inner voice and giving it space to be heard and then acting on her. It's a very new practice for me. I didn't follow her for the longest time. And now the pain has cracked me open. What do I have left but to listen to her? And I apologize to her. I'm so sorry I didn't listen to you sooner, kind of thing, right?
I think intuition is so much more important than we give it credit for being. I mean, we
Absolutely.
live, I say this all the time, but at some point, I want people to hear this. We live in such a linear society. We don't acknowledge the sort of more mysterious depths of soul,
Yeah.
of intuition. And if you think back on life, I would bet that the intuitive decisions you made probably worked out. Whereas the decisions you made that went against your intuition were less likely to work out.
And in the end, in a longer roundabout way, it always turns out, right? I
Yeah.
mean, certainly would have been less painful, absolutely, and more magic. I honestly believe that intuition leads to magic when we stay present. For me, what matters the most is staying present. I'm a workshop junkie. Oh my gosh, I've spent so many, so much money, so much time. I still have the same problems I had 40 years ago. And now, though, those decisions that I made that weren't following my intuition, that I denied or didn't give give it the space it needed to listen, to slow down. Right? I'm very busy. I'm not an alcoholic, but I'm a busy. Like busy is my
You're a
substance of
workaholic, a
choice.
busyholic.
Yeah, yeah. And so now I'm realizing I'm just to slow down. And so I'm unplugging from many things. And yeah, but anyway, the intuition still, I think it took the longer road to get to the same awareness, the same wisdom. It always works out. I mean, the universe will say, well, you didn't listen to me the first time. Okay, we'll give it to you louder. Right. So in the end, it always works out. But I think I took the harder path. Absolutely.
Now, one of the things you talk about is divorce is worse than death. How?
Yeah. Well, I have a few friends that have been divorced, and we've agreed that divorces were worse than death. Be- because I mean, I still loved my husband. I mean, yes, I initiated things, but it was more of a wake up, a cry for like, let's see what's going on here. And when you see your former husband dating another woman and doing all the things that you dreamed that you were going to do with them, and you're like, it's like being stabbed and then turn the knife,
Yeah.
right? Uh, Death is much easier because they're gone. Your family, this family still accepts you. I'm rejected. Well, the feeling of rejection, it's not true, but I have this interpretation that I have been rejected by my in-laws as well, and so much goes with that. um, but the other piece, and I did tell my former husband just even a few weeks ago, that how hard it is to be divorced right now for me. He's let go. He let go a long time ago. He's dating, he's traveling. Um, and I said to him, it would have been easier if you died. And I said, of course, I don't mean it. I don't mean it. I
Yeah.
don't want you to die. But it's just so hard for me. Um, and that's all I want to say about that. I think unless it was so clear, like in my case, I think the abuse was just such a low radiation. It would have taken a love detective to pick up on the verbal abuse, the putting down,
Yeah.
that was so low radiation. And I'm not perfect. I'm sure I did the same thing. I think we both took each other for granted at some point. I can certainly give you the what not to do, how to ruin your marriage. I can certainly give you, 5 things like that. But yeah, it's just tough. It's just really tough letting go, and the family. I find myself wanting my family back, but realizing, wait a second, it wasn't. Do you really want it back? Would you really say yes? What I want is the stability and the familiar. I don't want the dysfunction, the toxicity. Um, and actually, here's how delusioned I was. So we separated 3.5 years ago. I bought a home, like a condo, in a co-housing that I dreamed of. My Even when we were married, he liked the concept but didn't like the actual building. But I went ahead and bought a 3 bedroom and an office,
Hmm.
believing that they would come back. The movie Build a Field and They Will Come.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
it
Field of
didn't work.
dreams. Yeah.
Yeah, it didn't work. I bought this home thinking my family would come back, that my ex would come back, that our daughter would come back. She's now 20. She was 16 when we separated. Um, and they never did. And so here I was working extra hours to keep my home, commuting to by ferry because I took a job a bit further away. Loved the commute, loved being by the ocean, but here I was going back and forth for about 2 years, the last 2 years, and I'm exhausted. I had a dream about 2 weeks ago where I was drowning in the ocean, and I'm a strong swimmer. I'm athletic. I was on my back in the dream, backstroke, seeing the ocean, the shoreline on the corner of my eye, going, "Oh my God, I'm not going to make it." And a sense of panic began, and then I woke up, and I went, "I need to sell my house," and that was 3 weeks ago. 9 days ago, I decided to sell my house. I just accepted an offer on it 2 days ago. It
Wow.
happened so fast. It's not even listed. It'll be listed today. So talk about the ease. I feel actually already free. I already start to feel free. I was letting go of a hope, of a dream that didn't even exist, right? So that's the whole thing about divorce being worse than death, and how delusioned I was, and how we can be, how divorce for some women, and some of us go off the rails. I've heard this. Women we go off the rails. We over something. In my case, I overspent. Oh my goodness. I
What'd you do? Tell me, tell me.
you don't want to know. Yeah. Um, yeah. But the good news is once I sell, my financial planner said I don't have to work a day in my life. So this is good news, right? Because I was trying to keep the home and working extra. I was being driven by my home to work. I didn't own a home, it owned me.
Yeah. Boy, that happens. Do you think men let go of these sorts of relationships you more easily than women do?
It appears.
Yeah,
It appears so. And then I just go, "Are you kidding me?" You
I
know?
know.
Um, I think so. I mean, I hear it often, you know, they're already dating, or even if a wife dies, they're dating within 9 months. Or I'm like, really? Didn't we mean anything? But I think they just cope differently. And I also think, and this is a bit of a disclosure on my part, I think if we don't have a strong sense of self-esteem, we hang on longer. I fought with my inner self-love muscle within my marriage. I didn't actually like who I was in my marriage. That should have been a red flag right there, right? But low self-esteem, I think, makes us hang on longer. I think if I was a badass woman, I would have let go sooner. I'm becoming a badass woman now.
It's
Hey,
never too late.
pardon?
It's never too late.
Oh no, I mean, a book like this, I mean, come on, right? So, I mean, at times I'm a little, did I really call it that? Most of the reactions to the book title are awesome. Like, oh, that's golden. How'd you know that was me? Oh my gosh, I love the title. On occasion, I offend a woman with the title, and I'm like, that's not my intent, right? But that would have been me 10 years ago, right? The word vibrator. Ooh. And yet, um, there's a TED talk with a woman, Dr. Robin Buckley. Her title is Why I Bought My 13-Year-Old Daughter a Vibrator. And I'm like, even I recently went, oh my gosh. But I listened to her 11-minute TED talk. One of the first things she says is, why in our society can we say Viagra and not vibrator? And I just went, oh my gosh, bingo. And then the next few questions, I'm like, you know, she's brilliant and her story was brilliant. She was so savvy. I actually reached out to her. Would you read my book? Would you write me a testimonial? And she did. It was so exciting.
Oh, that's very cool.
Very, very cool.
Having gone through all this, what wisdom would you pass along to people who are thinking about a divorce, not sure what to do? Is there It's so hard because nothing's clear in these situations. But if
No.
you could pass along wisdom, what would you tell somebody?
Well, before I answer that question, I want to also share that
Mhm.
at some point in the letting go, the separation, I was suffering so much and I was aware that I was suffering. I'm like, oh my God, there's got to be a better way. I realized, you know what? I'm going to go have some fun. I'm going to go sign up for burlesque. I'm going to
Mhm.
do some pole dancing. I bought myself a pole. I practiced at home and I had so much fun and I found my sexy. And for someone who grew up Italian female Catholic, to find your sexy, actually at the age of 60, I'm like, okay, I am now sexy one. I'm sexy two. I had such a blast. It really helped me come out of a very disempowering place. And then another part of the burlesque that I want to share is I didn't read the fine print. After 8 weeks of class, we were going to perform on stage. And I'm like, pardon?
Oh
What?
gosh.
I didn't sign up for that. And I was almost going to quit because my life was so messy. Then I spoke with a dance mate, and I went, and then the day they came in to practice with costumes, I'm like, oh, this is too fun. I can't not do this. And so I stayed with it. And because my life was so messy, I stayed. And that night of performing, I was ecstatically, blissfully so happy. That morning, I was just like, are you kidding me? I'm not doing this. I was so anxious, but I had so much fun. I was, I was, um, someone came up to me afterwards and said, we could not keep our eyes off you. That woman in red, you look like you were having so much fun. I never thought that taking my clothes off to a sold out crowd of strangers would be so so much fun, and not completely, right? There was still a
Yeah.
lacy red bra and panties, right? But the but it was freeing. It was there's a word I'm looking for and I can't find it. It was liberating. It
Mhm.
was so liberating. A part of me was born. This sort of like free, playful, sexy, gorgeous, just feeling gorgeous and giving myself the attention that I didn't give myself before. And definitely the attention that my former husband didn't give me that I was seeking, right? I was looking in the wrong place. It always has to come from within. So
Yeah.
maybe that is a wisdom in of itself. Maybe that's one of the wisdoms I got out of this whole journey. Um,
I think a piece of wisdom right there is fun. We forget to have fun, and fun is usually fairly innocent, joyful, it doesn't require a ton of money or anything like that. We just forget to have fun as adults.
yeah. Yeah. And it's so therapeutic. I mean, I don't want to have fun because it's therapy. I just want to go have fun. But the benefit or the side, the sort of extra unrealized benefit is, oh my God, I actually feel good. Yeah. And then you
And
get
it's
over
us
things quicker.
and it's usually outside your comfort zone. I think getting out I think you live your life outside your comfort zone if you wanna have a good life.
I think so.
We've all been there. Living in your comfort zone is so familiar, you can predict everything. There's a certain peace in that in its own way. But are you here to just experience peace? I think we're here to experience awe and wonder. And that lives outside your comfort zone.
I think so too. Absolutely. There, there's a few other wisdoms I like to share, and one is um, self-love is the best protection. If I loved myself more, I would have picked up on things sooner. I wouldn't have made certain decisions. I wouldn't have put myself in precarious situations. And I'm talking even before my marriage. I married at the age of 43, right? I became a mom at 43. I mean, it was, I'm so glad I'm a mom. Of all the amazing, crazy things I've done, and I've done a lot, um, being a mom is the best. It's the hardest and the best. And there are seasons in that, in being a mom. So yeah, self-love, so important. And Mama Gina said that. Mama Gina said, self-love is the best protection. Again, I wrote a poem about that. But also I took a lovely course with a woman called Bibi. And again, not only, it was called Louder to Bliss. And it was about self-pleasure, but it wasn't about self-pleasure. It was way more than self-pleasure. And as women, we need to love ourselves on many levels. Um, and it was about receiving and asking for what you want. During that course, I started to look at publishing my book. It was because of that course that I took action to publish my book. I sent my manuscript to a publisher, never heard from them, but the act of packaging it, putting it in the mailbox was monumental for me. And it was because of Bibi's course that I gave myself um, permission to say yes to things that I really wanted in my life. So again, if you can't give yourself pleasure in the bedroom, it ain't going to happen outside as well. Uh, so that's one of the wisdoms, is to really love yourself on many levels. There's so much taboo around women's pleasure. I mean, men, I don't even want to go there, right?
Yeah.
They get to be called studs, and we get to be called what, sluts? I mean, hello, right? So and I didn't think I was going to say that word in this podcast today, but so yeah, just really loving yourself, staying present, having fun, really, really intuition. Oh my goodness, if I followed my intuition sooner, I probably would be here 30 years ago, right? Or 40 years ago. And that's okay. I am where I am. I'm more well-rounded. I'm not that righteous Catholic girl, goody two-shoes, straight A student that I was in high school and university. That's not a real person. Having a perfect life is not a real person. I can say, yeah, I've had a divorce. I can say, oh my gosh, this didn't work. This didn't work. I have felt so much pain. It has allowed me to have such compassion for others. And the other piece, I'm very, very less judgmental. I was pretty judgmental as a righteous Catholic, perfect, straight A student, very linear. Now I've been cracked open. My heart's been cracked open. It's been cracked open twice. When my daughter was born, my heart cracked open with love. Nothing like a mother's love. And then this divorce, this whole journey, my heart cracked open for pain to come out, to light. I don't know if the light comes out, if the light goes in. I remember reading this somewhere. When you crack open, are you letting the light out or light in? Like, we are divine beings. So, yeah, those are some of my wisdoms.